So we're going to be going over Endymion's video. Now, the reason why we're going over his video is quite simply, since I was on vacation, I have been out on the loop on a bunch of things. And Endymion, Smash AT, all these guys have been making great videos, keeping me up to date with all the information that's been happening. But this particular video is really good because he goes kind of like scorched earth on a bunch of different things, and I thought it was a very, very good video that I wanted to react to live on stream. It is 27 minutes long, so I don't know if we're going to be able to do all of it, but I for sure as hell will try. And wow, YouTube unsubscribed me from Endymion. What the fuck? Yo, that happened live. Wow, that's crazy. YouTube unsubscribed me from Endymion. That is gangster. Holy shit. All right, let's get into the clip, guys. Let's watch the video and see what Endymion has to say. Here we go.
Hey, everyone, it's Endymion, and I got more insider information surrounding BioWare and Dragon Age. And then there's an industry critic who is trying to claim that the hate towards DEI is unfounded and that we are all to blame and much more. So we'll get through the Dragon Age stuff first, then we're going to war with games journalists. So let's just get into it. Firstly, I got more information exclusively from one of my sources about the actual sales numbers currently for Veilguard. As we know, the game hasn't broken.
We're going to skip the part about sales numbers because I've been reporting on sales numbers nonstop.
Later on, of course, since BioWare was instead focusing on and of course, now that I've 100%ed activating and visually striking locations in the game, and I mean it makes sense. Since the entire ending missions and all of that happened in Minrathous for a reason, because it is objectively just great looking and really unique. I do wish we got more out of it, but we didn't. The story originally was...
Really quick, Endymion, the fact that you platinum Dragon Age the Veilguard, I think that's all the confirmation I need that you are a psychopath. I really don't know how else to say it other than that, but you are a absolute positive psychopath.
And recently by others on Twitter. Then we'll go into a video clip later on to show you more about this. Firstly, Andy said, if you're angry at the games industry for being too woke, I think you're a dummy. If you then fall for the right-wing grift and allow someone to profit off of your anger, the grifter thinks you're a dummy too. Don't be a dummy.
This tweet right here from the same guy we just reacted to earlier in the stream is so damn stupid. He says, if you're angry at the games industry for being too woke, I think you're a dummy. Oh, okay, so you're just going to completely downplay what people feel about the industry simply because what? Who made you the arbiter of that kind of information? And then he says, if you then fall for the right-wing grift and allow someone to profit off of your anger, the grifter thinks you're a dummy too. Last I checked, people watching me aren't angry. This is the most stupid thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. They think that you guys are all literally angry. They think you're in the chat right now just seething with anger because they don't understand that people are actually entertaining, that they have an actual following and people who actually want to listen to them for them, not because they're angry. These are the kind of people that'll sit here and gaslight you over that notion, but then they'll complain and be angry when their stuff doesn't get funded or when their set ends up closing down. It will most likely happen with these people. Like, you guys are ridiculous. So it's okay for you to grift on the mainstream, but then you're going to call everybody else grifters for doing something different than you? It's insane. Anyway, let's go.
Andy is very unapologetically left-leaning, like much of the game's media is, because they are anything besides what the echo chamber allows. They get excommunicated and then thrown out into the cold because they claim that they're diverse and that they embrace different ways of thinking, but that's a lie, and we all know it. They instead villainize and attack anyone who leans anywhere outside of left-leaning, claiming that anyone who believes in anything conservative, for example, should just be considered awful and racist. Of course, the election just happened, as I definitely know you know. And we.
So if that's the case, then how do they feel knowing that they had to go to sleep that night on election, realizing that the majority of the country is not like them? Can you imagine what that must have felt like to be Andy, go into sleep on election night, knowing that not only did you get absolutely fucking decimated, but you lost everything? You lost the House, you lost the Senate, you lost the presidency, you lost everything. You are clearly not the majority in anything. And yet you want to sit there and try to pretend as if your worldview has to be the worldview. It's hilarious.
We all saw that the overwhelming amount of Americans voted for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. Currently, right now, the Republicans hold the most seats in government and have effectively completely swept the American political landscape to becoming the new overwhelming majority. The liberals have lost against Trump, and the red wave is a historic moment for the country, and faith and positivity, as you probably see on Twitter and YouTube, have been returned to America in kind. Of course, this pisses off these sorts of people like Andy or his daddy Greg Miller that he looks up to, usually from below. Even then, they...
Is Greg Miller the balding guy? I don't think Greg Miller's the balding guy, right? Greg Miller is the guy with gray hair and glasses. So there's like 3 employees over there at Kind of Funny, or whatever the case may be. But yes, they are all coping and seething with that entire nonsense.
Refuse to believe that they lost in a fair election, which they did, by the way. It's not some conspiracy theory that every game that is woke is failing, and at the same time, the entirety of the political landscape of America shifts to one side of the aisle like this within a single year. Could it be that everyone who disagrees with you is racist and bigoted? Or could it be that your side continues to fail when it comes to understanding what the average people of this world want and care about?
Facts. Here's the problem. These people don't have the ability to read the room. That's what it is, right? These people are narcissists. They don't want to read the room. They want to walk into the room and tell everybody in the room how to think, how to feel, and how to speak. That's what they want. That's how they act. And this is why there is such an overwhelming majority voting for Donald Trump in this election, because they pushed people away. They did that. We didn't do that. And it actually coincides with gaming as well. This is the hilarious thing about all this, because it trickles down. All of it trickles down. If you look at the gaming landscape and you realize the overall rejection of DEI nonsense in video games, you'll realize that it coincides with the current political climate that we experience on election day, where people are just over it. Nobody wants to deal with this bullshit. Nobody wants to keep pretending as if all of this nonsense is real. Nobody wants to sit there and use bullshit pronouns. Nobody wants to sit there and pretend like someone who's mentally ill is not. Nobody wants to do that. People are tired of it because you guys pushed too far. That's the problem. You pushed way too far. And now you realize not only are you not the majority anymore, but you lost a ton of people to the other side. You pushed a lot of people away. And they might not tell you in person because, let's be real, a lot of people are cowards and they won't say that they voted for Donald Trump. But you know that the chances of that happening is at least 2/3 to be true. You know that every 3 people you look at least 2/3 of them voted for Donald Trump. So if you got 3 of your friends in the room, one of them just might be lying to you. Maybe.
It can't be that every single American who voted Trump is racist, since plenty of people from all walks of life did just that. The Latino community, which I assume Andy comes from, overwhelmingly voted for Trump as well.
Endymion, we don't claim that, motherfucker. We don't claim that, puta. He's with the white liberals now. That's okay. You know how they like to make us white adjacent? I'm doing the same thing. I'm making him white liberal adjacent. He can go with the putas in the corner. He can go with Alyssa Mercante in Canada, who's selling feet pics to like Canadians up there. He can go with her.
Well, does that make Andy's own people now somewhat racist too? Or could it be that just maybe the world is tired and sick of the woke agenda and leftist liberal politics? Of course, Andy will never admit that his side is losing so laughably bad, because admission of defeat is worse than death in their eyes. They would rather drown in their own waste and urine than ever reach out for the helping hand of someone if they identify as Republican.
Yep, they will never. And this is why I said that Kamala Harris was never going to admit defeat until Donald Trump admitted victory, right? She was never going to go there and concede and then have Trump do his speech. That was not going to happen. She was going to let him do the speech first, and then she was going to concede the next day. Because it's the image. It's the look of it. They never want to admit defeat. They never want to admit when they were wrong. I think Alyssa Mercante is a prime example of that. She's a person who just cannot admit when she's probably gone too far or when she's wrong or whatever the case would be. She can never admit it. She can never admit at all. She's a Frost that doesn't learn when to stop. At least Frost knew when to stop. You know what I mean? Even me, I could tell all the jokes in the world, but I know when to stop at one point or another, and I might pick up again later down the line, but still, read the room, right? Just read the room. Read the room.
The gaming industry is on fire for a lot of reasons. Yes, things cost too much. Yes, inflation is very high. Yes, the wrong kinds of games are being made, like live service, constantly. And why is it that the economy is
Mass
so
Effect
cooked
5
these
is so
last few
cooked.
years? All right,
I'm sorry, man. Mass Effect 5 is so unbelievably cooked. Every time I see gameplay from the original Mass Effect games, I just think to myself, man, this series is so cooked. And there are normies out there that don't know that yet. And that's actually kind of sad when you think about that. There are normies out there that are in the same position that Dragon Age normies were in right now. You know what I mean? Because that fan base doesn't necessarily cross over. Not all the time. So just think about that. Think about all the people who bought Dragon Age Veilguard not knowing any better. And then they had to refund it once they realized what they got into. That's about to happen to Mass Effect 5 players.